In this video, I'll be demonstrating where to look for the spot rate and line haul rate attributes for a workflow instance. I'll also go over how to accept or reject a workflow instance. If your system is configured to receive callback URLs as outlined in a previous video, then your system will get a response similar to the one that I'm showing on screen. I got this load ID information using the getWorkflowInstanceDetail endpoint, which I went over in a previous video. In your response, your system should look for the spot rate and the line haul rate attributes. If the line haul method is listed as calculated, your system can accept the workflow instance. If it isn't, but the spot rate computed is deemed as acceptable by your system, then your system can also accept this workflow instance. Otherwise, if the spot rate is not deemed accessible for whatever reason, then the system can reject the workflow instance. To demonstrate both accepting and rejecting workflow instances, I'll hit the accept endpoint on one workflow and reject on another workflow. To accept, simply hit the receive endpoint. Notice the success response. And to show what this does, so this value here is the tag ID for a particular workflow instance. So let's navigate to that same one and show the asset detail. Notice that this has been accepted. Now, for another workflow instance, I'll be rejecting this one. To do so, simply call the reject endpoint. Notice that in the reject endpoint, you can also leave a reject remark as such. So let's hit this endpoint. Notice that the workflow instance was successfully rejected. So now let's go back and refresh. And we can see that this was rejected. At the bottom, you can see any comments that were added. To summarize, once your system receives the workflow instance details via callback URL, it can be configured to either accept or reject a workflow instance using the respective endpoints provided.